A working class hero is something to be.
Everyone ready? Can I do one of these? No. That's just it. Hello and thank you for joining Working Class Heroes. My name is Jacob Giorgi, owner of House to Home Moving and Storage. And today on this segment, I wanted you to think about something while we're doing our interview. The idea that as a business owner or as a business professional in general, there is no box. A lot of people say, think outside the box. There never was a box to begin with. There's nothing but opportunity in this world, and the only thing that ever holds people back is themselves. So think about that for a little bit while we're talking. We'll probably get back to that during our interview. Today, I have with us Gabriel Stein.
Yep.
With Pure Web Services. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am fully addicted as an entrepreneur, and I've been doing it for almost a decade, and in business or technology to some degree, and so that's definitely my passion, and that's what I'm interested in doing, and love talking about and working on.
Nice, man. Do you see yourselves doing, right now you have, what is your business doing right now?
Yeah, so right now Pure Web Services helps build marketing and sales tools, primarily online for small, medium-sized businesses, primarily Sacramento area and maybe some surrounding regions. That's our goal, is build some high return on investment assets for them, not just, does it look cool kind of stuff.
No, I've seen your product. And the way that you've explained it to me, to Alosha, when you were in here, is that, your websites, when you look at them, right away I noticed one thing, which is like a call to action.
Yeah.
Can you explain why that's so important?
Yeah, and it's because websites are an intermediate tool. If it doesn't actually call someone to perform an action, it's not very effective. Like that, it's not doing its job. So I view, if a salesperson didn't ask for the close, right, or didn't lead someone towards a sale, that wouldn't be a good salesperson. So in the same way, a website is just a digital salesperson. So if it's not asking for the sale, if it's not asking for some sort of call or text or close, what's it there for? What is it doing? It needs to be accomplishing something.
And not just sitting there.
Yeah.
What are if you had like the most important things about a website, because you do this all the time and I don't know, but what are some of the most important things that people need to know about what should be on their website?
Primarily, you need to be considering, I actually would describe it as basically humility, because you're saying like, I need to understand my customer. I need to understand why they're visiting this website. I need to understand what their concerns are, what they're thinking about. Why are they on, the number one question that you need to answer for somebody when you go to a website is, why does this matter to me? Who cares? And how does this affect me? Right? You need to answer those questions within seconds, right? And then you have to have some sort of next step, some sort of next action, whether it's a phone call, whether it's click to email. There has to be something. Those are some of the key elements, is considering what kind of actions do you want somebody to take. I was just looking at a page the other day for, I think it was like some fencing company. And I clicked on this page and they had this decent page, couple paragraphs of copy, a picture of their service, of a kind of a niche that they work on. And then that was it. And they had nothing. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And I just closed the tab. So there was no action. There was no call of like, hey, if you want, a brochure, or if you want a free estimate, or if you want, it was just kind of left me like, okay, so cool. Like, so yeah, that would be a big one.
So that's just not doing anything for them, in your opinion.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this business?
Well, one of the first businesses I actually started was kind of the web design type thing. And the business model was very normal, very typical business model for that. And it was not a great one. It really doesn't work that well. But ultimately, it's just not a very good business model. And so ultimately I basically just shut that down, worked on other projects, and then I got to the point where I went to go to a restaurant for a meeting, and I was trying to set up this meeting at this restaurant, and I couldn't get the address. And I was so annoyed, like I was like, okay, like I have to do something about this, that I go to this website and they had their address in a picture, right? So I was like, I can see it, but I can't click on it. I can't do anything. I can't highlight it. I can't copy it. I can't open it in Google Maps. All the things I want to do, like that's what I'm interested in doing. And they put it in a picture. So Google can't scrape it. They don't know it exists. The customer can't use it. Ultimately, I just literally changed the meeting to a different spot. I was like, I can't handle it. So, those are It's like such a simple thing. Like just put it in text. You know?
What you just said is so important because I always call it the Costco society. I want it now. I want it to be as easy as possible. And if it isn't, I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it is on websites or with businesses or anything.
Well, I mean, if you remember in terms of shipping, right? In terms of when you shipped a product or you ordered something, if it came in like 2 weeks, that was amazing. You're like, dang, I ordered something online and it showed up in like 2 weeks. Right. That's amazing. And then, a couple years later, maybe 5 years later.
Now it doesn't show up tomorrow.
Yeah. No, and that's the shift is like, then it became like 5 days, right? 5 business days. That's incredible. And then it was like 3 business days. And now if it doesn't come at 5:10, or like 5:10 p.m. on the same day because I ordered it at 12 and you're like, it's going to be home when I get home from work.
A drone is supposed to drop it off at my front
That's
door.
literally like, we're talking within a window of minutes is when we expect that package to arrive. So the expectations have increased and it keeps increasing, which is great as a consumer. It's awesome. But like you said, the expectations are so high that if you're not behaving consistently with that, right, and you expect them to like send you a handwritten letter to get your thing, like it's not going to work.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's it's crazy to think about. It really is. How big is your company right now? How are you doing?
Yeah. So it's doing really well, and we're growing and hiring a lot, and training a lot, especially developers, designers, copywriters, anything like that. It's about a dozen core people in terms of different disciplines in that area, and then working on probably another half dozen or so more on different areas, some of the ones I mentioned, and grow capacity. And I think that's where, and like I mentioned with filtering, I think a lot of industries, a lot of boring industries, I think I'm interested by that. I think house to home moving is a good example of something that's like
boring industry? Get out.
It's an industry that needs a good business. Right. There's so many businesses that are really important businesses, and there's nobody good in them.
Because and there's no bar to be held. It says hold the bar for. There's no bar in this industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're not one to be different or create it or be good, then you're gonna fall in the same category.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like most businesses don't have a bar, right? Now there may be some Food and Drug Administration, or there may be something in food, or there may be some medicine thing, but actually most businesses don't have a bar. So I think that's at least the way I view it is that the average business doesn't have a bar, and so they need somebody who's gonna set their own bar and say this is the level of quality. And there's a lot of industries that most people. The reason I say the word boring is because nobody goes to college and they're like, heck yeah, I'm gonna start this, or nobody's like in high school like, oh, it's such a glamorous business. Like tech is a glamorous business, right? It's exciting and it's fast and I'm gonna be the next Facebook, right? And I'm gonna be a unicorn and it's gonna be worth $1 billion. So that's the mindset. So that's why I say, this glamorous versus boring thing. I think that there's, pipe manufacturing or whatever. Or I was talking to somebody the other day about, like porta potty rentals or whatever. It's like nobody's like jumping at that business, even though that's a really important business and actually a great business opportunity, right?
That people are making a ton of money.
Yeah, they're making a ton of money at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but nobody's like, ooh, so exciting,
I'd be a porta potty guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because when I was 13, I remember specifically thinking back, I was like, I definitely want to be a mover.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
That's your life vision.
That was the life decision.
You had it on your dream board.
That happened because I was out of a job.
Yeah.
And a movie company was hiring, and I got a job with them.
Yeah.
So that happened.
Yeah. But now it's like this is the business to go to, right? So like that's what I'm talking about is even though this isn't necessarily some, like crazy like fashion business or whatever, it's a really important business and people need it, and there's a lot of opportunities to provide really good services, like services that people need, so that's why I say like there's people have to get out of kind of this mindset of like that everything is just about is it cool or exciting or something, because there's so much opportunity in industries that that really need good people.
Absolutely. I mean, what kind of roadblocks did you run into from going from just an employee? At some point, I'm guessing you've been an employee a couple times.
Yeah.
What jump started you into it? But what were the roadblocks that you came across?
No, it's a great question. I would say one of the roadblocks is, I mean, there's some ones, I could say, whatever, economy or, didn't know what to work on or didn't have the experience or something. But really, ultimately, the ultimate mindset, I would say, or the ultimate thing, the roadblock I experienced has been basically mindset. That's really the critical issue because business is pretty much determined by strategic creativity, right? So you're thinking, okay, I have this issue. I have this need to hire people, right? Instead of just saying, oh, well, everybody's hiring, or there's not enough good people, or it's hard to find good help, right? Or some of these these things. Instead, saying, okay, well, what could I do? How could I solve this? Could I find maybe if I want to hire a developer, could I find a hackathon or some sort of event that's based around developers, and could I sponsor it, or could I fund it or help with that in some way? That's where they are. That's where good people are. They're going to this, they're paying to be at an event to learn. That's a good indicator of a good person.
What's been the biggest benefit of being your own business owner?
Less vacation time. I think there's a lot of benefits. I think that setting your own schedule or being flexible in terms of timing is, you have flexibility in timing. I would say that to say that you kind of set your own schedule and do whatever you want is not necessarily, accurate. Especially if you run a store, right? If you run a store, there are business hours. You open at 7 and you close at 9 or whatever. That's a lot. That's a lot of hours. So you got to have somebody there who covers for you or whatever if you're not there. So I think you do have flexibility though. And so that's a benefit. I think a benefit is, a big one is the level of impact you can have on an industry and on customers, and by providing top quality service or an innovative product, something like that. I think that's probably the biggest benefit is it multiplies. If you have a goal in mind, it multiplies that goal.
I've noticed being a business owner that it also builds confidence. Because you do things you've never done before, you either succeed or you fail, but you move on until you succeed, and it starts building more of a confidence, and then you start going, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The world is so much more open than I thought it was. Everyone leads you to believe, most people, in my opinion, in this country, they still have that old mentality of, go straight from high school to college, get yourself a state job, retire with whatever benefits you get, and that's it. Go on your vacation once a year and be happy. Yeah. And I will never be able to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel I'm struggling in a way. I get that that's a good thing. Because then you're stuck doing the same thing, and I can't be stuck doing the same thing. Yeah. I want to sleep in on Sundays. Yeah. I want to, what I mean? Yeah. I might want to work on Saturday and not work on Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, and the career path thing, that's a whole topic on its own, but that's something I've seen for sure, is that if you view college as an investment, then the only question you should be asking is what's the return on investment.
Exactly.
And if it's good, it's good. I'm not against the whole institution, but just generally be intentional about it.
Absolutely. Go for a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned just a minute ago when you were talking, you said schedule.
Yeah.
And I just did a Facebook Live about scheduling, how important that is to know what you're going to do that day. Do you have an actual schedule? Is it in your mind? Do you write it down? How do you do that? And then how hard is it to accomplish those every day? To keep that schedule?
So I actually apply something, I call it 100% schedule, and I allocate 100% of my time. So that doesn't always stick. It's not always exact, but my general intention is to have something set for all the time. So I literally schedule my sleep, I schedule driving, I schedule the actual events, meetings, the work, what projects I'm working on, as much as possible to at least an effective level of detail. My goal is to have some sort of goal or intention for every minute, ideally, of my day. That's my goal, and that's, a lot of people aren't comfortable with that, and a lot of people are like, that's kind of weird, and to see a solid blocked out thing.
Everyone should do that.
But to me, it's actually kind of buck wild to not do that, right? Because it's the most precious resource, the most important resource. Why not treat it kind of seriously? Money, I think is that's I mean, people, talk about finance and accounting and, personal accounting stuff. And that's necessary. But how about like some time accounting, right? Or some time finance where you're considering like, where is that going? I mean,
That's the only thing you don't get back.
It's the average person watches 37.5 hours of TV a week. I mean, that's a full-time job.
Wow, really?
Like, yeah, and so, I mean, and let's say you're like, okay, that's crazy. But even like 10 or 12 hours, 20 hours a week of TV, which is pretty easy at a couple hours a night, is so crazy to me. Well, and I would define 4 areas at least that I've seen generally. I think that it's a generalization. I think there's some other ones too. But generally, if you can get your time management system, your task management system, some sort of to-do lists thing, whatever you use, doesn't matter that much, but something decent. A finance management system and a relationship management system. If you can get like those 4 things down, you're so far ahead. You're so like to remember where you met somebody and someone's name and who they're connected with in relationship. And then because you after like 100, 200 people, it's like you don't remember anything. So like I have to do that, right? And then the calendar management, I write on events. If an event is more than like 2 or 3 or than a week out, I write when I made the event and like why, because otherwise I totally forget. Like, man, okay, well, I'm supposed to meet with this guy and I don't remember why I set this or what the point. So I always write in the description like, hey, okay, I made it on this date and it was for this reason. And I'm like, oh yeah. So that's what we're gonna go do that. Like, so helpful.
Nice.
And so, yeah, and those those 4 systems. I think I was talking to somebody who's like 16 years old yesterday, and I was like, man, if you could work on these these systems over the next year or two, it's pretty easy to kind of like work on them a little bit here or there. By the time you hit 18, you're going to be so ready. Like, you're going to be so much more organized and so much more efficient and on the ball. Like, it's gonna blow people away when you go to get hired and you're like, you show up exactly on time and like for the meeting and everything is like good and you bring everything that you're supposed to bring and you did all your prep and you signed all the documents and you forward. Like, that's gonna blow people away.
Yeah, it will.
So
a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, and those are free things. Like, it's Google Calendar's free, Trello's free, Mint is free, Full Contact's free. All those are 4 software pieces I use to manage those 4 areas, and they're all free and they're all amazing.
I'm gonna start on some questions, by the way. I'm gonna jumpstart this. You know what?
No peeking.
No, okay. I don't want to pull the same ones.
Completely random question.
Completely, totally random.
all the questions are the same in the whole bucket, and then you pull a new bucket out, and they have different.
Okay, here's a good one. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say it's probably between Interstellar or maybe Inception.
Interstellar and Inception?
Yeah, probably one of those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Random.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah. No, Interstellar's pretty sweet.
Interstellar is cool. I've seen both of those. Both of those are good.
Yeah.
Interstellar was a trip.
Yeah.
That was a trip. The way it ended. I was like, what?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. What is your favorite and least favorite word?
Oh. I feel like it's a little cliche, but I would say my favorite word is can and my least favorite word is can't. That's probably.
That's so crazy. My least favorite word is can't.
Because I think, and I don't really care about the word necessarily. It's, I think it's probably the same for you, right? It's not like the word, but it's the general philosophy of some sort of rejection or resistance to like this is not possible.
To moving forward. Stopping
you know,
it from to moving forward. On it.
Yeah.
Your favorite vacation spot?
Bed.
Now that you say that, I'm pretty sure that's smart.
Yeah.
Even when I'm on vacation, I miss my bed.
Yeah.
I hate, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what hotel you stay in, the bed is garbage. Thank
Yeah.
you, man. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Really, man. Thank you. Another working class hero joining us today for the interview, Gabriel Stein with Pure Web Services. And do you want us to give, like, not right now. So is there a little bit extra that you would like to finish on?
Yeah, I would say just as an encouragement to everybody out there, keep hustling, keep pushing, and keep working on the businesses and the projects, opportunities you have, and stick with it. It's a 2 to 5 year process minimum, especially for any new business. It takes time. And yeah, if we can help you out with any kind of marketing services or any kind of design stuff, purewebservices.com. And we'd love to help.
Awesome. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you much.
Can you guys keep down back there?
No!
Wait, Cody, hold on a second. Right here. That's for you. All right.
Got a bigger one.
Oh, nice.